that currently there is a protest by FlySafair. Solidarity Deputy General Secretary Helgard Cronjé says 26 FlySafair flights have been cancelled following a pilot's wage strike that began this morning. The trade union says the strike, initially planned for 1 day, has now been extended after FlySafair implemented a prolonged lockout of striking pilots. Solidarity has rejected the airline's 5.7% wage increase offer, demanding a 10.5% raise for the 2025-26 financial year. All right, for more, we cross.
As we issued our 1-day strike notice, we were contacted and we agreed to a conciliation process because we wanted to resolve this to prevent this from happening. Unfortunately, SAFAir for the whole weekend never responded to the CCMA, so there was no feedback. Although they are saying in the media that parties are talking to each other, it's not actually the truth. I mean, if they spoke to us, they would have contacted the CCMA. The intentions of our 1-day strike was initially not to disrupt or to limit disruptions and get SAFAir back to the negotiation table. Their response was a 7-day lockout. So even if our members want to return to work today, they can't because they are locked out. They are locked out for 7 days, and that lockout is on condition that they must accept the current offer on the table of 5.7%. If they don't accept it within this 7 days, the lockout will be extended for another 7 days. So our strike action, an extension of our strike notice for 14 days, was as a response to that. We are simply trying to match the company, but at the end of the day, one can also ascribe or should actually ascribe these disruptions to the company themselves. The same company that downplayed the impact of this over the whole weekend and late last night issued a statement saying that there will be flights cancelled.
All right, for more on this, we cross to our reporter Katlego, Legodi, who's at Tambo International Airport. Good afternoon, Katlego. So on one end, there's jubilation for those welcoming our rugby under-20 team. And then on the other end where you are, there's great frustration from commuters who are unable to travel to various destinations. Just share with us the very latest from the airport insofar as that protest is concerned.
Yeah, most definitely. A very good afternoon to you, Mfundo, and to our viewers at home. It is a national key point. It is a very busy space here, but you are right. On the side of the flights, in terms of where the departures are and where you find FlySafair, that is where you get a sense that indeed there is a strike action that is underway. Earlier on, you could see snaking queues and some frustrated commuters here, just giving us a sense of the frustrations that would come with their flights either being cancelled or them being rescheduled to another time, something that they had not anticipated. But from last night and from even yesterday and last week already, we were hearing from the airline that there are contingency measures in place. It doesn't look like those contingency measures did kick in. And in a moment, I'll be bringing in the Chief Marketing Officer from FlySafair, who'll just give us a sense of how then, the first day of this strike action has impacted them. You heard there from the union Solidarity that they are a bit about this strike action. They're saying that the majority of their members have down tools, withdrawn their labor, and they're looking at taking this all the way into 2 weeks if then the employer does not come back with a favorable offer. They're still standing at 10.5%, something that FlySafair has made clear that it's unsustainable and they can't afford it. But Kirby is the best person to give us a sense of a breakdown of all of these developments, looking at where we started in terms of the negotiations to where we find ourselves now. And one wonders to say that this impact then would see you counting the losses because one flight cancelled is too many. Let's start maybe with the negotiations that led us to where we find ourselves here, as we even last night saw the Solidarity Trade Union releasing a statement saying that you're approaching this mediation by the CCMA in bad faith.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, the reality is absolutely no company ever wants to reach a situation where your labour relations extend to this point. We've walked a long path under conciliation with the union, Solidarity, and the CCMA. Unfortunately, we have been engaging in good faith all the way along and continue to do so with the CCMA, guiding us and shepherding us under a Section 150 process to continue conversations. At this stage, what we need to deal with is a set of really unreasonable demands. While the union is being vocal about their requirement or or their demand for a 10% increase and our offer of a 5.7% increase, this actually doesn't tell the full story. The reality is that's a 10% increase on basic pay. Pilots' remuneration is quite complex. It's nuanced. There are flight pay things, there are allowances that are considered, there are bonuses, and actually when one looks at the full cost to company increase that they are demanding, it's 20.1%. Now these are individuals who are well paid, they are competitively paid compared to other airlines. They're in the top 1% of earners. A captain will earn between 1.8 and 2.3 million rand a year, and so it's understandable that a 20.1% increase is absolutely economically not viable, and we need to balance the needs of those pilots with, of course, the sustainability of our business and the safeguarding the jobs for the 1,700 other people that we employ, especially in an economy where other major corporations are only able to offer 4% increases to their workers.
But they're taking it back all the way to the COVID-19 times to say that as an airline around that time you cut their salaries by 10%, and since then you have not then been agile in returning some of these losses that they incurred during that time. Hence you saw them starting at 17.5 and they've taken it down to 10.5 because of the fact that that 10% is something that more or less they had COVID-19 times to where we find ourselves now. What do you say to that?
I think that's a disingenuous claim. COVID was, of course, a very difficult time for the aviation industry, as it was for so many industries. During COVID, FlySafair managed to retain all of our employees, not just our pilots. And there was a period where we took pay cuts temporarily and then returned immediately when we were flying on a full basis to what we had before. So there was no extended pay cut. And as I maintain, our pilots are still paid a very, very competitive salary in the market. They are paid more than some of our competitor airlines pay their pilots. And as I've shared the numbers already, one would understand that it's not an insignificant amount of money.
Let's talk about today, the cancellation of 26 of your flights, and in the coming week or in the previous weeks leading to where we are today, you were talking about contingency, you were allaying fears, saying that everything is going to be well come Monday, but when you walk around here, you see that there are people that are frustrated because their flights have been cancelled.
Yes, I think to clear up something up, we have more pilots that are actually actively working, either through non-unionized members or unionized members who are not participating in the strike, than we have actually actively participating in the strike. Unfortunately, we had commitment from a number of pilots who were due to work today, who late last night at about 11 p.m. called into the operations center and made themselves unavailable for work. And this necessitated us cancelling 26 of 174 flights for today only. So that's about 13%. It obviously pains us deeply to do this. We're a business that's built our name off of our reputation, off of our reliability, off of our ability to continue flights when many others couldn't. And so the 2,000 people that stand behind me at FlySafair are all very heartbroken by the reality that we have before us. And of course, we extend our most sincere sympathies to all of our customers who have been impacted by this. And we're doing everything that is in our power to assist them to get away on later flights with partner airlines, or of course to expedite refunds for them so that they can make alternative travel arrangements.
Let's talk about that particular issue of the workers saying that they're not happy because we hear that the reason why last night they withdrew their labor is they are members of Solidarity and they were talking about embarking on strike until you then locked them out. That's what they're saying to us, that you locked them out, pushing them to extend this strike action to 2 weeks. Let's talk about this lockout.
Sure. So the strike was initiated by Solidarity. A defensive lockout is a completely legal mechanism that's available to employers in the circumstance of a strike. All that it does is that it determines that you open up the door for employees to come back into the organization should they be prepared to accept certain conditions that are, through the negotiations. And that's why we have a vast number of the Solidarity Union members who have made those commitments, who have rejoined the workforce and are actively flying today. The 7 day is also a little bit of a misnomer. We're obviously an airline, so what that means is that we need to roster and schedule our pilots, and so we've reduced our normal 1 month roster to a 7 day rotation. And what that means is that pilots who choose to embark upon industrial action have the opportunity to rejoin the airline on the 7 day rotations.
So it's not a take it or leave it, you get locked out if you embark on strike.
That's how a lockout ordinarily works. So a strike is a no work, no pay scenario, and obviously everybody has the individual decision as to whether or not they choose to participate in that. And so in a lockout scenario, the option is invited to the individuals to say you are welcome to come back to work if you accept our conditions, or you may participate in the strike. So there's really no kind of fundamental difference to the employees either way. So they would be striking and unpaid, or locked out and unpaid, and then returning when they are ready to do so.
Yeah. Another issue that I need to converse was their working conditions, because another matter that has been really highlighted by the union would be the rostering. They seem to believe that you changed the rostering and that has impacted them negatively. They can't do anything. They don't have time. They don't have time with their families anymore because of the changes in the rostering. Maybe tell us about what informed the changes in the rostering and what do you make of some of these allegations that they are making as the pilots?
Yes, I think there are a number of allegations. I mean, look, unions like Solidarity are certainly in the business of emotions, and I think they peddle them quite successfully. We have had a change in our roster system. It was a change that implementation of that began in March 2024 in full consultation with our pilot body. It went live in February of this year. What we've changed is from a fixed pattern roster to an open roster system, which is more dynamic, and so schedules or rosters are published on a monthly basis for each pilot to be able to see what their flights are, but not necessarily against the same pattern month on month on month on month. Now, this is exactly the same system that is in place in every other airline in South Africa and most of the most significant airlines around the world. We roster for a month ahead, so our pilots get a full view of what their month looks like. One of our major competitors, by example, only rosters for 2 weeks. This system also has other great features that were not available to the pilots before, like the opportunity to bid for preferential leave, like the opportunity to do flight swaps, like the opportunity to do specific flight requests. So there's a lot that's gone into ensuring that their lifestyles are accommodated for, and as I've said before, if so many other pilots around the world and all of our competitors are able to manage their lives on a roster like this, we're quite certain ours are too.
Kirby, I have to let you go, but before I let you go, let's talk about the losses. I mean, obviously, with you having cancelled 26 of these flights, this is bound to affect your bottom line negatively going into the future. Have you already started counting the losses? And can you just give us a sense of the impact so far of the cancellation of these 26 flights?
Well, that's unfortunately the tragedy that befalls us, right? And it's the reality in terms of industrial action is that the company takes a hit financially, and so too, of course, do the labour that are withholding their service on a no work, no pay basis. And that's the tragedy that stands before us right now. We've got a company that has a fantastic reputation, that is having that reputation tarnished as a result of this withdrawal of labour. We have a number of people who are inconvenienced, people that are going to be with loved ones on their deathbeds, individuals who are going on holiday, individuals who are going for job interviews, and they are now stuck and inconvenienced by what's going on. And equally, we have these pilots that are sitting at home not getting 60,000 Rand this week for their work that they're supposed to be doing. So no one wins in this scenario.
Losses?
The losses at this stage still need to be cancelled. I mean, need to be counted up. Obviously, 13% of today's revenue is foregone, and we've had to shave off the schedule for the rest of the week as well. So they're significant.
And just, Kirby, are you willing to move from the 5.7%, or that is your standing point right now? Are you looking at revisiting some of these negotiations with with the workers, looking at where they stand right now? Are you still open to that process, or 5.7%? That's your final offer?
We remain very open to the process and we continue to negotiate in good faith, but I think to expand upon the 5.7% offer, 5.7% is on the base pay. The offer also includes a number of other remunerative structures, including bonuses and flight pay. The actual cost to company increase is 11.29%. And I reiterate, in an economy with low inflation, where banks and other significant employers are offering 4% to most employees, when you already earn a competitive salary, an 11.29% increase is unheard of in this current economy and is a very, very, very strong offer.
Kirby, really appreciate your time this afternoon. Kirby Gordon coming through and joining us here from FlySafair. He is a Chief Marketing Officer at the airline, and you hear him saying that they are looking at resuming operations in terms of full operations, and just talking to also the union back to the table so that they can bridge this impasse. But I must say, Mfundo, frustration's really palpable here on the ground in terms of some of the commuters that would find themselves really in between what is happening between the employer and the workers, and most of them are just looking at just flying without any hesitation or interference. Mfundo, back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Katlego. That's SABC News reporter Katlego Legodi there out at OR Tambo for